rocked at once. 43rd minute, we have a Barcelona turnover. Well-driven cross from Kily González, and Angulo beats two defenders to the ball for the goal. 2-1 Valencia. Angulo and Valencia kept on coming just before the break. Angulo fouled in the box by 𝐬𝐮𝐞𝐭. Mendieta, 3-1.
I don't think I'd ever really seen a team do this. This was pulling goals and do it and do it and do it. It's this control, total control.
Yes, that's exactly it. I think we mentioned last week that they were almost a precursor of that modern Spanish ability to choke you, because they used space. I remember, I'm glad you made that point because it's spot on. See their ability to hunt in threes.
Yeah.
And then to always have two men available, always, all the time. That was so impressive. And this was a side who were playing and doing things that were so incredibly, or certainly felt to me, incredibly innovative, where players were moving in tandem, in blocks, constantly, and they were always available. I mean, it was so impressive. Also, that it's become a Pep signature, hasn't it? When they gave the ball away, they won it back within a few seconds. You know, they were straight into the tackle, but without giving up possession, because the person who goes to tackle, it was immediately filled in by whoever's job it was to fill in when that person went to tackle. And they were so hard to get a transition on. You know, and that's still a key part of any football match. They were so difficult to get a transition on because they filled space, and they use space to squeeze you and to make it very difficult. And they do, as you said, as we're watching them throughout this campaign, they're doing it to fabulous teams. And they just had an ability to always have spare men, not man. And they work the ball at such a pace, at such a technical level. It's just, I think it's an absolutely, you know, this 2 years of this Valencia side is one of the most complete jobs of management. That is a squad where every single person is in tandem and in harmony with the other guys in the team. It's really impressive.
Well, Barcelona, Adam, is the semi-final opponent. I guess a big brother. Barcelona maybe just starting to slow down in this season, and yet again, Valencia at home for the first leg. Yet again, they get a start. It seems to be what they're everything's kind of predicated on. Barcelona are back through an OG, but the score at halftime is 3-1 to Valencia. Claudio Lopez makes that pretty out of sight in injury time to make it 4-1. 𝐦𝐵𝐿𝐵 scores first in the Nou Camp. Barcelona win on the night, but it's absolutely dead and buried. And again, it's this explosive ability in moments to just take what could be, should be, some would say, a 𝐾G encounter with so much at stake, just on its head and out and done.
I think the big difference for me in this first game was Kily González. I think he set up 2, maybe 3 of the goals we mentioned. They're coming from that left hand side. Angulo getting 2, and Claudio Lopez with the injury time one to really, I guess, put the seal on it, because again, important times to score goals, because they get a goal just before halftime, Mendieta's penalty just after halftime, which makes them 3-1, and then Valencia just sort of turn it on their head. So if they're Barcelona are maybe expecting Valencia to weather the storm a little bit and play their counter-attacking football and let them puff themselves out, and Valencia just turn it in their heads and get their early goal again. And then you can just imagine, I can't claim to have watched loads and loads and loads of Valencia games, but you just imagine that is the type of team, type of manager, type of setup that you get. If you go a goal down to, you are in for some serious trouble. It's not a Man United type thing where, what was it, 30 odd times they went a goal down and come back and won. If you're going to go down to Valencia, particularly at this time, I think just any team is struggling, so that gives them that belief that they can go out and get that fast start and then just sit and and then pick a team off on the break, which they absolutely did here.
The amazing that the history of fixtures against clubs, what it can do to you. But again, I go back to a point that we discussed last week, which is, Martyn, you mentioned the Mestalla being wild in a crazy place. There's a sense of, yes, we are going to win this, and their fans turn up prepared to play their part. They're not nervous. And that's what Valencia did with having the home ties. I think that they turned up, we have a part to play, and the team responded to it and took them apart. See that 4th goal, that is, I just think from Barcelona, that's so unprofessional. You know, you're still in it, and psychologically, you've just got to get out there 3-1. 3-1, you're still in it. psychologically that fourth, it's flipping the price point from $9.99 to a tenner, isn't it? It just registers different. And I just think Barcelona have got to shut that down, and they don't.
Is there maybe that thing I mentioned there about pride or embarrassment that, I mean, you think we always give the example of, I can't think of many teams domestically that Rangers should defend the lead against, say, or go into the corner against and try and pass the time away. Barcelona, I think, being 3-1 down and being that type of team, I guess the natural reaction is we've got to go and get goals here. We can't sit back and just take a 3-1 loss. So maybe they just get caught between two stools.
I think it's a great point, Adam. I think you're absolutely spot on. That would they have done it against Liverpool? Say no, they would have shut it down and said, right, we've had a bit of a tanking, but it's 3-1. We'll take them back to the new camp. It's because it's Valencia. You're absolutely right, and it's like, it's Valencia. We'd be expected if it was a league game, and you fall into patterns, don't you? You fall into they've all played there that season, and they go into
just that mindset. Though, I mean, I know what you mean. That the opposition will modulate it a wee bit, but it's 3-1. There's a big difference between 3-1 and 4-1. There's also a big difference between 3-1 and 3-2, because if they get that second, they're then getting into a very noisy new camp and they're winning. They're going to the final, and it just seems, when you look at how they've played, it is front foot, total belief. But you're absolutely right, Davey. The more pragmatic viewer, and I think the two of us would be saying, well, you've done this. Chelsea aren't Valencia, right enough. You got a hell of a harder task on your hands. But even then, I'm still not sure 3-1 would have done it. Anyway,
3-1 might not have 4-1.
Oh, 4-1 games.
Try and get a second. Absolutely, it's great if you can get a second, but the first priority, and maybe that is just mindset, that we have. But I think at 4-1, and I think the feeling was at 4-1 that it was done.